Personnel management and organizational behavior. Module 2, managing a work team. Being a team, despite being a very noble task, is not easy since there are a number of skills required to successfully manage a good team. The failure of a work team may be blamed solely on the team leader, either because he or she did not manage the team well, because he or he had not been involved enough. However, success is only achieved as a team. Members should give their very best to be able to resolve conflicts and to be at the same level. You need to know how to manage a good team because today working alone is slowly disappearing. Almost all people work as a team because, as mentioned, it is more beneficial for the company. However, to achieve this, it is necessary to transform a working group into a team. As the latter is characterized by synergy and the ability to achieve together what is not possible to achieve individually. The boss is responsible for the unit and what happens within it at a relationship level, responsible for results and making people believe, has to set certain series of increasingly diverse, has to have a series of increasingly diverse skills, social communications, technology. Many of these skills are not taught at universities. We learn them by ourselves or with the help of others. And they play an essential role in the organization, and his or her main functions are persuading, delegating, engaging. Management functions, learning, awareness of the situation, focusing, forecasting of the environment's development, diagnosis of internal problems, hierarchical line policies, communications that come from subordinate, advice that comes from experts, and deciding. Defining the goal of a team. Once we have obtained the necessary information, plans need to be made. The goals to be achieved have to be well defined as a group works on a daily basis. In order to achieve these goals and obtain the expected results, each member of the team has to accept the defined goals as their own. These goals are specific and concrete. There is no room for vagueness. Scarce, important areas will be abandoned. Measurable. It is not possible to know exactly whether or not objectives have actually been achieved. But it is a very effective type of objective for the team since it frequently evaluates the proposed objectives so to know if the team is on the right track or not. And needs to have deadlines. They are not the most suitable ones, since creating a time framework to accomplish a goal can discourage a team by making it feel pressed over time. Compatible with each other, it's very likely that two close teams or two people from the same group share it. Challenging but attainable. A very successful objective since easy ones do not motivate and difficult ones put the team off. You need to find something in between, mainly an objective that is a challenge, since it is a way that the team will be motivated and will carry out the team more effectively. Written down objectives can mean to a certain extent that their goals are better achieved than if they were only memorized. Organization implies organizing resources because they are not limited. Each member's function are defined, projects are established. Budget for each project is determined. Necessary resources are allocated, especially money, people, and time. And giving orders. Leading people this role requires reporting on the goals and policies established. Motivating and trying to get people in your own team to be willing to achieve the objectives of the unit. Providing training and assistance, sharing authority through delegation, providing the workers with adequate conditions, etc. Controlling. In order to control our work team properly, we have to establish a forecast, execute what is planned, monitor what has been done, diagnose the causes, and make a correct decision if the cause or the previous cause are negative. Control needs to be seen as an aid information for all team that helps to improve and is aimed at correcting deviations and making new decisions. Key skills. To manage people and teams, we need to know how to carry out a set of skills that, if performed correctly, will lead to the success of the team. These skills need to be performed by the leader or the team leader. There are the key skills: leading, motivating, communicating, delegating, managing meetings, and we will explain them now one by one. Leading. Good companies have good leaders. However, this is not a rule, as it is also possible that a bad company has good leaders. Nevertheless, in principle, leadership is a common denominator in good companies. It is necessary but never sufficient factor in distinguishing companies that are successful from those who are not. Who is the leader? Who is a leader? A leader is a person within the team who is able to make sound decisions for the proper functioning of the group. They inspire others to achieve a common goal. We could say that in a team, there is a person who leads, and those who support him are the subordinates. True leaders lead a team where they want. A leader's major role is to serve the team. A group needs to recognize its leaders by his personality, his philosophy of life, etc. A leader is a leader in all aspects and at all times, and a true leader is made, not born. The power that a leader has, the power could be defined as a leader's potential to influence others. It is also the ability of a person to reward or punish others. People who hold power are differentiated from others. For example, they have better offices, more work privileges, uniforms, etc. All these characteristics distinguish them between the person in power and the rest. Power regulates an organization, but it is not the only factor that makes a team function correctly. It also requires authority, understood as the free acceptance of the orders of those who lead. Authority is something that companies do not provide, but it is what people give under management. It is proportional to the trust and subordinates placed in their leader. Good leaders should set an example for others to follow. They cannot demand their subordinates things that they do not demand of themselves. Authority is the art of getting people to do voluntarily what the leader wants due to his or her personal influence. This art, personal influence, is learned little by little. We will now define the types of power that a leader can exercise. Coercive power, based on fear or punishment. Connection power, shows connection with important people within the company or outside. Reward power, based on gratification of the team. Legitimacy power, based on the former position of the leader, his appointment. Relationship power based on the charisma of the leader or his personal relationship with the team. Information power based on what the leader possesses that others need. Expert power based on the knowledge and skills of the leader. Now, here comes the difference between power and authority. Power is the ability to force someone to do as we wish, a sense of obligation that comes out of fear but having individual goals and tries to explain and make sense of itself. Authority, ability to get people who willingly do what you want them to do related to a person. There's an act of willingness, comes out of respect for cognizance of a common goal. Now we come to the characteristics of a leader. In order to be able to manage a work team, a leader has to possess a certain series of very important characteristics. Trust himself and his subordinates because all of them contribute to the results. Proper proposed goals or not. To communicate with subordinates in a way that they feel free to ask questions, give ideas, express concerns, etc. To have a team vision. To create magnetism with other members of the team. To encourage integrity. To unify the team. To pay careful attention to everything related to the team. To have courage to cope with problems. To be fully committed to the team. Here we have it all: communication, vision, magnetism, integrity, teamwork, attention, value, commitment, trust. Achieving goals. Ability and functions necessary to achieve goals with his or her team. Here are the functions: the instrumental. The ability to anticipate and plan, organize, decide, execute, coordinate. Evaluate, control, assess. Interpersonal skills: working as a team, training, listening, informing, communicating, motivating, assessing. As the skills, the management skills, ability to perceive and manage change, organize, control, and coordinate, knowing how to manage a team, clearly understanding goals, knowing how to distinguish primary and secondary objectives, ability to analyze problems and make decisions, monitoring and controlling without overwhelming the subordinates, and the ability to delegate. Now in the relationship side, knowing how to lead, ability to communicate, understanding what motivation is and how to instill it in others, ability to assess the team environment, and so on, knowing how to manage interpersonal conflicts, and having negotiating skills. Also the ability to work in a team, the ability to conduct work meetings. Now we're going to come to some leadership styles. Leaders who get the best results are those who use styles that have a positive emotional effect on the team. Leaders are not those who resort to a single style of leadership, but those who can use several of them and who know how to move from one style to another skillfully. And below we will discuss 6 leadership styles. 4 of them are resonant and 2 of them are dissonant. One style should not be perceived as inherently better than the others. Rather, they should be adopted depending on the situation. Here comes now the resonant ones. The visionary leader. As the name implies, visionary leaders are able to create a positive and inspirational vision of the future of the company and convey that vision in a motivating way that appeals to the committed followers. They find learning, encouraging, and inculcate striving for knowledge in their employees by giving them learning opportunities and freedom to experiment. Visionary leaders thrive on innovation, constantly encourage creativity, perceiving changes, and test progress. Teams feel motivated by the vision and united by the common cause, which gives the members a sense of solidarity and belonging to a group. A good visionary leader shares knowledge, adds to the development of his or her, identifying him or herself with the feelings of his or her employees, encourages them to show their emotions and expectations, promotes initiative, he or she is eager to create a strong bond with the work team. She or she cultivates a partnership approach. One of the advantages of visionary leadership is that good employees continue sharing the mission, the goals, and the values of the team. The approach is one of the most effective methods of leadership since it equals the fundamental objectives of the group and each person. Now, the skills of a visionary leader are self-awareness, trust, transparency, empathy, inspiration, catalyzing each possible change. Situations may appear which the visionary leader is not adequate. For example, if the team is composed of experts. Now we come to the coach leader. Incorporating a coaching method into the management style can be a very powerful leadership approach. After all, working with employees on professional growth is much more beneficial than simply giving them orders. Coaching-based leadership is a kind of relationship that focuses above all more than on tasks. It connects with the lives of other people who have judgment or personal agendas, getting to know their main goals and expectations, capitalizing on the strength of the team members rather than trying to fix the weakness. There's more emphasis on personal development than on achieving goals. It tends to lead to positive outcomes that represent a leadership style that strengthens trust among workers and as a result, show interest and commitment. A good coach motivates and inspires, and is a good leader, puts others at ease, has a warm relationship with his subordinates, knows the people that he leads, truly cares about them, is concerned about their life issues, is available and ready to help, offers empathy when needed, believes in his or her subordinates, and makes the best of them, shows how to identify and make the most of one's strength, helps to draw a plan that makes his or her subordinates reach their intended target, knows how to stimulate the development and personal improvement of his or her employees, tolerates errors and uses them as a source of information and encouragement, has sufficient experience, sensitivity, and emotional awareness, and empathy. Coaching promotes the development of skills and abilities of the employee. There are situations in which this type of leadership may not be appropriate. For example, if the employee has no motivation, few or no results are obtained. Now we come to the affiliate leader. Affiliate leader creates emotional bonds with members of his team, encourages a sense of belonging within the company or group. This kind of leadership could be summarized in one sentence: people come first, Affiliate leaders are necessary in times of stress. For example, when a team needs to get over a trauma or when it is necessary to rebuild confidence among members. A good affiliate leader knows how to generate emotional capital gradually when the occasion requires it. Nevertheless, if leadership relies only on this type of leadership, it might be risky because the importance of achieving results and objectives fade into the background and they may end up creating a mediocre team. It is possible to use affiliate leadership in conjunction with one of the others in order to obtain business goals. Despite being a positive leadership method, it can have negative consequences, and here they are. Low work efficiency, deterioration in the overall team performance, unresolved problems and conflicts, and ineffectiveness when it comes to facing complex challenges. The positive points are motivating by providing plenty of positive feedback, emotional support in critical moments, strengthening relationships with the loyalty of subordinates, raising the morale of the workers, increasing the harmony, regaining lost confidence. Now we come to the democratic leader. This type of leader prioritizes participation of the entire team and promotes dialogue among all. While it revolves around free flow ideas, leaders are there to provide guidance and control. They are eager to learn about the concerns or ideas of their subordinates and act more as a team member than as a boss, encouraging in this way equality in important matters. Leaders have the final say over decisions. Democratic leaders are always willing to listen to diverse opinions instead of trying to silence dissenting voices. Most important to remain open to all points of view as this sets the stage for a democratic process. And now are the features of a democratic leader: the promotion of active participation of all group members, not marginalizing anyone, and appreciating the opinion of each member, contributing to the well-being of the group, delegating tasks, trusting the team's ability, offering out guidance, encouraging initiative, stimulating the team's sense of importance, being engaged in the team development than more engaged in team development than in results. However, here are the number of disadvantages of this type of leadership. There's a slow process into team democracy is not named for one day or to the other. As a result, it might be ineffective when time is of the essence. It is a risky leadership if the leader shows no empathy or does not give support to their subordinates. It is not a suitable leadership style if the leaders do not possess collaboration abilities or if they do not believe in the team. And it is always difficult to please everyone. Having explained these 4 types of positive leadership, we will now turn to 2 types of distant or short-term leadership. Helmsman leadership. In this type of leadership, leaders focus above all on task performance and goals of their tasks. They set the pace and indicate the course of action. The helmsman leader continually controls each and every step of his or her subordinates. He or she is always placing value on task, short-term goals, and does not really take into consideration the needs and aspirations of the employees. Therefore, they feel that they are being used, and consequently, they lack motivation. The feeling of belonging to the team is lost. Although in most cases it is negative, there are some situations in which this leadership is appropriate. For example, it can be effective in expert environments where team members have a high degree of professional maturity and are very competent and motivated. In other words, it is suitable when all the members have a clear idea of what they should do. This style of leadership has to be used with caution. Then we come to the authoritarian leader. Authoritarian leader is also known as coercive leadership. The way it sets out is a management style in which one person has absolute decision-making power and control over his subordinates. Leaders reach decisions with little or no input from the team, and then they communicate themselves to subordinates and expect prompt implementation. They impose their authority, usually by pressing and shouting, and give an image of knowing it all, even if they're wrong. An authoritarian leader does not know how to delegate. They focus exclusively on mistakes that others make. He or she does not teach. His or her leadership is limited to punishing and reprimanding subordinates. Some authoritarian leaders have managed to succeed in the short term. Management has brought negative consequences in the future and in the long term. It's possible to achieve success under authoritarian leadership. It is not possible to achieve success under authoritarian leadership because subordinates are not motivated. This type of leadership is the least effective of all the above mentioned. However, there may be some situations where this type of leadership is suitable. For example, when it is necessary to make an urgent decision in a critical situation or in an emergency, it prevents failure of the project by providing solid organization and deadlines. In the current, increasingly competitive business world, keeping team members motivated is essential to obtain good results. That is why learning how to motivate employees should be a priority for leadership and management. What is motivation? We could define motivation as a willingness to act, bearing in mind each person is different and feels motivated by different impulses. To empower team members, ordering and controlling should be avoided at any cost, and advising against anything should be adopted. Also, as an example of good motivation, it is advisable to reward employees for doing their job well, since it's more effective than threatening when they do not meet goals or simply perform poorly. And there are 3 basic steps to motivation. Get people to stop fighting, giving a place in the team to each person, and having a discriminatory incentive policy. There is no incentive or prize where laziness and hardworking people are treated equally. Acknowledging needs. In the 1940s, it was discovered that people feel motivated by a number of different needs, both at work and in their personal lives. Therefore, recognizing and addressing these needs will contribute to obtaining better results. Our motivational theory is based on opportunities and proper stimuli, and if this is achieved, people work well and in a positive way. However, as a leader or motivator of a group, you need to know these stimuli. The theorist Abraham Maslow grouped them into 5 areas. First are the physiological needs of the human, then comes safety, social needs, self-esteem, and personal fulfillment. Physical survival is our basic need, and it first motivates our behavior. Once it is satisfied, the next level of us motivates us, and so on. In the following diagram, we can see these needs organized. We've seen this before. Maslow came to the conclusion that fulfilling only physiological or safety needs was not enough to really motivate someone. This hierarchy is established and relevant, is especially relevant in the workplace because individuals need not only money and reward, but also respect and interaction. Let's look at some collective needs. A team member have different needs for those of the group itself, but it is important that they feel integrated, and we have to find a way to balance collective needs and individual needs. An example of satisfying the needs of the team would be organizing sports activities, since each tends to satisfy the motivational needs outside of work. Motivating a team in a way that they put the same effort into work that they put into a sport activity makes the teamwork more enjoyable. Here's a good strategy to undertake such activities outside work so that the group improves its ability to work as a team. Now we come to basic needs. The psychologist Frederick Herzberg developed a theory of two factors based on motivation and hygiene factors. The latter are human needs, which do not motivate, although not fulfilling them does not cause any satisfaction. These factors can be trivial, like not finding your mobile phone, or essential, like a holiday. However, the most important hygiene factor is economy. Every leader or manager has to meet the economic needs of his or her staff, since people need to be proper salary to meet their many needs, if not all of them. Therefore, poor incentives, slow salary progression, or job insecurity can cause demotivation. And now we will look at Frederick Herzberg's motivation and hygiene factors, determining the basic needs at work. Salary and benefits. Holiday company car bonus, working conditions, working hours, United company policy, rules and regulations for employees and entrepreneurs, hierarchy, authority, and relationships with others, job security, degree of confidence of the workers with respect to the continuity of work, supervision and autonomy, degree of control of the content and performance of the tasks, working life level and type of interpersonal relationships within the working environment, and the personal life, the time devoted to family, friends, hobbies, etc. As a result, failing to meet hygiene needs causes lasting problems. Job insecurity undermines motivation at all levels. Acknowledging good work is as important as rewarding it. The efforts of meeting hygiene factors are temporary. Increasing motivation at work comes in motivators. Achievement. Achieving goals is very important because one of the human impulses to advance into a progress is one of the most powerful motivators. Recognition and recognizing the achievements of the team. It's encouraging because it boosts self-esteem, interest in work. Task gives a team member a sense of satisfaction, will provide a greater motivating power impulse than one discouraging one. And responsibility. The opportunity to exercise authority requires management skills, such as taking risks and making decisions in progress. Increasing promotion and rewards is necessary for motivating the team. The more choice available regarding hygiene and motivational factors, the greater the motivation is. Each person is motivated differently. Valuable to limit the number of supervisors to a minimum. Managers need to promote these motivators so that their team is satisfied, and to achieve them implies enjoying work and responsibility. Motivators are designed to achieve progress and personal fulfillment by accomplishing tasks. Enriching tasks may increase responsibility of the team members. Motivating a team, and it cannot be overemphasized. Overlooked that people behave differently when they are part of a team, as this entails the spirit of togetherness, which may encourage any group. In order to motivate a team, it is crucial to support the collective and individual goals and implement strategies to address the proposed objectives. Key points. The ideas of a team are better because they are collective and need to be taken into account so that the team remains motivated. We have to pay attention to all individuals and collective problems of a team, asking all group members to contribute to planning enhances their motivation and self-esteem. Every criticism of the staff should be taken seriously. Meetings and celebrations increase team spirit. Setting goals that are more demanding can be a good team motivator. If demonstration occurs, we should consider changing the system. Or demotivation. If demotivation occurs, we should consider changing the system. Now we come to communicating. Interpersonal communications. Because communication is the ability that human beings have to interact with each other. It goes without saying that since the beginning of time, communication has always been ingrained in human nature. Throughout history, human beings have always found a way to pass on messages using various methods, symbols, gestures, sounds, pictures, body language. The last years, due to technological development, have shown a huge advancement in communication, giving the rise of devices such as the telephone, television, radio, or the internet. However, communication is one of the aspects of our daily routines that are so deeply rooted in our everyday existence that we hardly pay attention to them. We often take communication for granted and tend to forget that our whole lives, including our work lives, revolves around the process of communication. We can say that communication takes up to 80 to 85% of our workday. It plays a crucial role in every business activity, such as solving problems, progressing, and obtaining successful results. Therefore, a leader needs to possess exceptional communication skills to get his or her message across. And as mentioned, we communicate not only through words, we could convey our ideas, thoughts, and emotions through our entire body. Nonverbal communication often speaks about our intentions. Although the word is the more difficult way to transmitting messages, without proper communication, it would be impossible to please a motivated team. Thus, the concept of communication is part and parcel of the interpersonal relationships, including management. Components of the process. Interpersonal communication is the process by which information is transmitted from one person to another, and in this process, the following elements intervene. Is a transmitter, the one who transmits the method; the channel, the medium by which the message is transmitted; the receiver, the one who receives it; the code, the language, or gestures used to transmit the message; the information transmitted; the content, the environment in which it takes place; the receiver's answer, its feedback; and the various elements. Yeah, let's look at that again. elements that can prevent or disturb the communication. So we have transmitter, channel, receiver, code, message, context, feedback, and barriers. The process flow information almost never lacks a purpose. Its aim is to change behavior, such as getting another person to do something that they would not have done if the communication process had not been conducted. To achieve this goal, the message communicated needs to be perceived, understood, and accepted. We need to give great importance to each of these steps in order to achieve the expected efficiency. One problem is to not be understood or to be understood partially or incorrectly. Therefore, to communicate effectively, we should take into account the following elements. The message. We have to give some thought to the message we want to convey before we decide to communicate it. Coding. The communication begins where the transmitter gives shape to an idea he or she wants to convey using words, codes, gestures, force, or in his or her mind. Transmission, when the word the transmitter has in mind is communicated. Transmission takes place. Channel. The channel is the vehicle by which the language travels from transmitter to receiver. And there are two basic channels, non-verbal and verbal, written or oral. The written one is always slower than the spoken, but it acts as a permanent record. For this reason, we want to transmit data. It is preferable to use the written channel. Another advantage of the writing process is that it does not require the two people to coincide in time. The spoken channel is said to be the safest one. However, leaving a message on voicemail does not guarantee that it is going to be listened to, and also it has disadvantages. Now we come to the barriers. There are different kinds of barriers. Personal perception, we see things as they seem, not as they are. We perceive things through stereotypes, projections, expectations. Attitude, it acts as a filter in our communications to overcome the barriers. We must acquire a positive attitude towards communication with our interlocutors based on and undergoing understanding of their importance for the fulfillment of our own and organizational objectives. Mood, to overcome this barrier, we have to maintain serenity at all times, focus on the message, and adopt an attitude of peaceful resolution of conflicts rather than confrontation. Linguistics, this barrier is caused by the inappropriate language, ambiguous or polysyllabic. Various words, and it can be overcome if we use simple and correct language, order messages clearly, and logically adjust our messages to the characteristics of the interlocutor. Repeat and emphasize the important ideas, or also if we ask or verify. Now we come to the reception. Interpersonal communication only takes place as a message is received. At this stage, serious difficulties can arise, such as the receiver might be suffering from auditory defects or not paying attention to the message at all. Decoding to complete the communication process. The receiver should decode the message. If the receiver is French and does not understand Spanish, he will hear you, he will receive the message, but will not decode the information. Therefore, decoding the message or information means understanding what has been said. Feedback is in interpersonal communications. There is a need for receiving immediate feedback from our interlocutors. Otherwise, the rules of interpersonal communication are broken. Feedback, which verifies whether the message has been received or not, takes the form of sentences or gestures, smiles, nodding, frowns. The response should be codified in a different way than how the message has been perceived. Context. Communication is always influenced by context in which it takes place. Context of communication is never repeated, since the communication process is included in a universe that is constantly changing. Objects, people, etc. When we come to the objective, communication aims to achieve one or more goals. The objective may change as communications develop, and when parties start to disagree over the objective, negotiation should be issued. To communicate, what we need to take into account is that we should always speak with an intention. There are many types of intentions: ordering, informing, warning, venting, amusing, intention, etc. Although there are many types of intentions, there is no need to talk just for the sake of talking, so you should avoid useless communication. Negotiating or arguing. On many occasions, when we negotiate, we end up arguing. It is difficult and to keep calm. In any case, there are a number of guidelines for this type of situation. And they are: do not engage in a word fight. It will only make your interlocutor tough to your arguments. Mentally combat your words. Rethink. It is very smart to propose your ideas without rejecting the suggestions of others, even if you do not want to accept them. Reformulate. It is less aggressive than rejecting. Do not say yes, but the other person will only understand the yes and will deduce that she has won. Good communicator speaks little, listens a lot, observes more, and asks good questions. A team leader, in order to maintain good communication with a subordinate, needs to bear in mind the points mentioned above. Communication in the organization. It flows through hierarchical line collaterally and through two types of channels: informal, chosen by each one according to their preferences, and formal, official hierarchical lines. Now we look at the formal channels. Vertical communication is carried out through the hierarchical structures established in the company organization, and downward communication from leader to the collaborators. To manage people, to keep employees, collaborators, and members of the team informed and promoted to coordinate different areas of the company. Instructions that have to be performed. We have the rules, giving feedback to collaborators about their performance, information about the changes, which changes to the instructions. That is called downward. Upward communication from the collaborators to the leader, to inform leaders about the development, to communicate problems, needs, and expectations, make decisions based on team member suggestions. Language. In order to communicate with a work team effectively, we need to define a style that we want to adopt. It is understood that we should avoid using bad words, gimmicks, or complex expressions because the team needs to understand and process what is being communicated. One of the most frequent mistakes is that the language used is too cultural or technical, unnecessary most of the time. The language used to communicate information to our team should be clear, simple, and precise. And it is advisable to order our speech. It should be logical and chronological, with the most important bits being placed at the beginning. Use only one idea for each topic. Use short phrases with simple, direct orders. Nothing far-fetched, and use precise terms. And it is not advisable to use bad language, common swear words, or words considered taboo. To repeat words or ideas very often, monotonously repeat the sounds. Use proverbs, idioms, fillers, or cliches, since they involve personal opinions and imply a lack of creativity. Use unnecessarily long words. Use unnecessary chauvinism. Unnecessarily womanized terms that are neutral. Exaggerate with duplications such as actors and actresses. This can be in politics, but you do not need it to communicate it with your team. Make value judgments since they may seem prejudicial or unfair. Communicating goals with work teams. Team leaders need to communicate clearly and concisely their expectations concerning individuals and group goals to their subordinates so they achieve them. Leaders should follow a standard procedure that is entertaining, brief, and memorable. Basic procedures are as follows: establishing individual and group goals, setting up a group meeting of the group to communicate them, using graphic materials and making a pleasant, simple, and positive presentation that encourages participation, transmitting only group goals, establishing targets and other goals that the team can carry out, giving all these objectives and goals written in a schematic way to each member of the team. At the end of the meeting, all ways of monitoring the achievement of goals and about the control of the meeting that will all be set up as a work progress should be explained, maintaining a positive and direct tone during individual meetings aimed at informing subordinates about their targets and trying to stay on topic and giving documentation where all the goals are stated. Personnel Management, Module 2, Part 2. Delegating. If you can get your work done by another person, why would you do it yourself? Arabian proverb. Managing is a function that usually is defined as achieving goals with and through others. Manager has to achieve certain results with the resources he has, and the most important one is their team. The most difficult and complex task, mainly achieving desired goals, have to be performed by the team. To be clear, what other people do will not have to be done by the boss or team leader. However, he or she can only feel released from an important task when another person assumes it. A leader or boss will grow professionally when he or she delegates. What does delegate mean? It means entrusting a task of responsibility to another, giving someone else the freedom to make decisions about how to achieve a desired result. Why do we delegate? Well, delegation implies granting a collaborator or a team member a function that is always performed by the leader or head of the group. Delegating has a number of advantages: increases leadership capacity, releases the leader from routine and less critical tasks, addresses most important management issues, reduces delay in decision-making, provides ideas and new approaches, adds to the development of each team member and their ability to make decisions, creates a positive environment within the team, and increases the level of commitment. Delegating in practice. Well, in practice, it's more difficult than it seems. Many managers think that delegating is passing one's power and tasks to another person temporarily, but it is not, and this is a common problem, not knowing exactly what delegating is. In reality, it simply implies assigning a number of functions to another collaborator. In practice, many problems may arise, and for example, I cannot delegate because my staff is not competent enough. Or if you have a good team and you completely trust and support it, there will be no problem offering one of the members some of the tasks of the team leader or manager. We will have never obtained competence in dealing with the new issues if they do not delegate it to us. As has been mentioned, the leader needs to be able to delegate in his or her team so that it grows as a team and increases competence. Oh, I see. The second sentence is always a rejoinder to the first. Sort of. Let's see some more. Selecting the right person for the job. There are two factors behind choosing an appropriate person. You can select the one that has the best qualifications, can achieve the best results, or the one that would derive the most from the new experiences. Giving enough information, the delegate should be provided with an overview of what he is supposed to do, or so that he or she can get a full picture of the work and expected results. Trusting the person with full responsibility for the task or work. This will make the delegate more interested and even more committed to the work delegated to him or her. Although the ultimate responsibility falls to the boss, focusing on results, not on process, it is more important to delegate responsibility than work. Many directors imagine that delegating implies getting rid of work so that others do it, and this is a very common mistake. Delegating through dialogue. You need to delegate in an environment that allows giving a complete explanation of the project without interruption. You need to devote enough time to dialogue. Establishing time limits based on responsibility. There should be no room for uncertainty when it comes to deadlines. Dates for completing a task or function should be clearly established. Setting dates for review. You need to check and keep track of the project that has been delegated to someone else to make sure that the person is doing a good job. Providing positive and constructive feedback. It is not advisable to focus only on what is wrong, but rather that you should see what can be done to improve the results, and providing necessary resources. This has to be clarified whether the work involves more people and resources. Offering guidance and advice. Obstacles that the delegate might come across through the process should be indicated. Setting parameters, terms, and conditions before delegating, providing backup and support when necessary. Delegates should now know that they are not fighting this battle alone. So giving full credit to the persons who have completed the work. The ones that has delegated should not be given the recognition. The person who has met the goal should be praised, and if she or he fails, the leader needs to take responsibility. Symptoms of bad delegation. Well, in a team, what needs to be dealt with first is the root of the problem and then the problem itself. Priority should be given to getting to the bottom of the problem, identifying the cause and combating it. After doing that, the problem can be solved. Now, here are some goals. Quite a few, it seems. Maybe we get a slightly smaller picture. It might help us. Oh, that might have done it. That's jolly well done it. Okay, let's get going on this. Lack of politics, lack of goals, control environment, not defining correctly the responsibilities of each team, bad planning. Oh, I see the colors. Yeah. Excessive management, excessive pressure and control, criticism, home or and delayed reactions, days off not taken, secrecy. Did we get them all? Yeah, it seems so. The most frequent symptoms of poor delegation is the figure we're talking about here. Let's look at them one more time. I wonder what lack of politics means. Lack of goals, control environment, not defining it correctly. I wonder why they're colored differently. They're planning, excessive management. Let's find out. Oh boy, here another chart. Causes of failure. Not believing in the collaborators' capability, not trusting who has already been chosen, oneself to be indispensable. Not defining performance standards, inadequate responsibility, and perfectionism. Disagreeing on the delegation, delegating tasks rather than goals, interference. Fear of taking risks, fear of criticism, lack of necessary training, inadequate monitoring or control, excessive control, or not allowing for errors. Managing meetings. I didn't say anything about the politics. Oh well. Managing meetings. Most of the time, meetings are considered a waste of time for both managers and employees. Statistically, very few are useful for those involved. In the business world, meetings have a very bad reputation among top managers, middle managers, or any other attendee, but they are more often than not inevitable. Common complaints concerning meetings: inadequate preparation, lack of agenda, vague agreements, lack of involvement of the attendees, inefficient management, lack of objectives, lack of communication within the group, bad presentation, insufficient participation, excessive length. Yes, rambling. We're gonna actually more than just write them down. You can actually. All right, let's find out. Managing conflicts. Meetings can easily become tiring and dull. Tension rises when participants bring up problematic or pending issues. This usually when a conflict occurs. It seems to stem from a lack of structure of the meeting process. A conflict can appear during a work meeting and its management is not always correct. The first thing that has to be accepted is that the problems are inevitable in any group, as we need to realize that there will always be a clash of interests. To handle conflicts effectively, it is advisable to adopt some of these attitudes. Do not avoid it, do not hide it, do not deny it, do not punish the person who mentions the problematic issues. If you do not adhere to these rules, the problem will be unsolved and lead to frustration. At least that stuff I understood. A conflict should be used positively and handled properly because this will add value and allow sharing of information, bringing up problems, enhancing quality, reducing costs, improving leadership, stimulating the generation of ideas, stimulating teamwork, improving processes, and facilitating change. If conflicts are addressed positively, openly, and directly, meetings will be more interesting and the attendees will be more engaged. Now we come to the objectives of the meeting. A meeting can have several different objectives, and the most common ones are the following: giving instructions to the team, defining goals, exchanging information, analyzing and solving problems, decision-making, selling a decision or an idea, strengthening the commitment of the attendees, passing on information, negotiating, encouraging team spirit, establishing a process, fulfilling legal obligations. Oh yes, of course. Types of meetings. There are two main types of meetings. The internal ones are held within an organization or unit. They fall into three categories: operational, tactical, and strategic. Operational main purpose is to give instructions to the team. They tend to take place daily and need to last between 5 and 10 minutes or 15 minutes if they are weekly. Tactical, most frequent, aimed at coming up with new ideas or solving problems and conflicts. And strategic. Senior management meetings. They take place a few times a year. They have a special duration, half a day or a weekend, and it is advisable to carry them out away from the headquarters to have more privacy. Mixed. Members of different companies participate. They are often seen in trade. Oh, I see. The first one was in-house and the second one is mixed. Okay, arranging the meeting. When setting up a meeting, most important aspects need to be taken into account. For example, calling the meeting in advance so that all those invited can adequately prepare their attendance and contribution. In meeting request, you should include goal of the meeting, place and date, as well as start and finish times, agenda issues to be addressed, and the time planned for each of them, a list of participants, specific contributions of each attendee. Preparing the session. Although meetings have been set up in advance, it is always a good idea to send a reminder before the session. The director of the meeting begins his function before the other attendees arrive. It is necessary to prepare meetings properly, for example, to provide documentation, maintain contact with the participants to be able to ask for their collaboration and contributions. A collaborator may deal with the preparations of the room and items. It is advisable to have a guard outside to prevent intruders from entering, or as an alternative to a guard, you can have a sign on the door. Another aspect to consider is moderating the session, which is a delicate and complex task. It is a good idea to have a secretary to take notes and minutes of a meeting, not like the actual session. When the day comes, the person who calls the meeting should make sure that he or she has prepared strategy, requested support, and called for the data. Review the room one last time. Turn off mobile phones if they have not been left outside. Start the session at the scheduled time. Start the session with a clear and motivating statement about the issue on the agenda. Encourage participation, moderate and control the debate. Avoid interruptions. Encourage attendees to join or leave once they've contribution is finished. Always keep in mind the meeting focused on the goal. Summarize the debate and conclusions. Close the meeting in a positive tone. Finish at the scheduled time. Record the minutes. The secretary is the ideal person to write down the resolutions adopted and to prepare the draft of the minutes. And check the corrective wording of the minutes. Distribute the minutes as soon as possible afterwards. Monitoring. One of the things that make the meeting useless is a lack of monitoring. Appropriate monitoring is the key to making the meeting useful for the attendees. This function can be delegated to another member of the team. Now we come to conflicts, awards, and penalties. Teams are frequently submerged in conflicts and free conflicts, and the main reason for this is to pay more attention to the problems than to the affection. When we ask a member of the team about his health condition, we show concern. When we do not greet him one morning, we create a conflict because the person may get offended, and generally bad things are more likely to stick out in our minds and good things are not as valued as they should be. Addressing a conflict in order to improve. You can get involved in a conflict with someone, or on many occasions. Factors that may spark a conflict are the social space team members occupy the interpersonal relationships, the work, etc., perceptions, and the internal dialogue that trigger conflicts. Well, they are as follows. Here are some of the threats. A perception of threat. When we see our profits threatened, we establish a competitive relationship with someone because our inner dialogue tells us that X is meddling in areas that is none of his or her business, and she's being too smart for his or her own good. Now, there's a perception that you're being taken advantage of. When we have the perception, our inner says we deserve better treatment, or we have done so much work and the boss does not even notice us. Or the perception that we cannot work well, either because someone does not allow us to become he demands impossible tasks from us, or we have to do something that we do not consider ethical. Our inner dialogue tells us he or she wants me to fire X so that he or she is not the one who gets his or her hands dirty. I am under pressure. I will not be able to endure it. Perception that something that is ours is being taken away from us. Many times we have the feeling that another person has obtained something that belongs to us, such as a promotion, because we think we have our work better, that we are cut out of this job. Moreover, our inner dialogue makes us think it's not fair that person has been promoted because it was my turn. These perceptions can overlap and lead to psychological discomfort of the team members. A person with any of these perceptions may not initiate a conflict because they opt for complacency due to the lack of energy or motivation, feeling hopeless, or being afraid to put an interpersonal relationship, which provides other kinds of advantages on the line. In this case, the person can inhibit critical internal dialogue or disguise it in order to avoid this. Relationships need to be modified, and constructive criticism should be introduced so that we can give options about someone else's job in the spirit of friendly cooperation. The characteristics of teams prone to conflicts, their relationships of competitiveness tend to predominate. Teams of young people have to build their CVs with little internal cohesion and high self-esteem. Weak leadership that does not offer arbitration and is unable to instill common goals and collective aspirations. Now, here's the function of a conflict. Conflicts are not always what they seem, and they do not necessarily lead to detrimental results for the company. Sometimes they serve as an outlet for inner tensions and then lead to positive outcomes. This is not always the case. A team conflict can be seen as a confrontational ritual that positively stresses the group. When it comes to resolution conflict, there are two basic dynamics. Loser, confrontational. A confrontation of power stems from a lack of resources. Someone takes over, something else can't be shared. Minority conflict. And resentment and outrage. Both parties win would be negotiation and support that leads up to these conflicts are not always detected. Attack, defensive attitude, visualization of empathy towards opposition, giving in dialogue. Arbitration of a conflict. If there is a conflict in a work team, it is always necessary that there is a person who acts as an arbitrator. Some rules that need to be taken into account are shown here. We should make sure that the person he or herself, addresses the conflicting situation that has arisen, that when the confrontation is between two people, we need to avoid being between them. The mediator should help each party to analyze their positions, thoughts, and arguments. We should make sure that we are not taking sides, and as an arbitrator, we should not expect gratitude from the party or act as if we wanted them to return the favor. We should be simple and transparent. Criticism and sanctions. Giving. One of the factors that contribute to creating a cooperative climate is giving positive and constructive criticism, which is necessary for the team to function properly. Constructive criticism aims to reinforce the behavior of employees, improve work habits, indicate that the effort has been noticed. Some remarks regarding constructive criticism. Negative criticism should be combined with awards for effort or well-done activities. Positive and negative criticism should not be seen as something exceptional, but quite usual. Criticism should be given in a relaxed environment and at the right time. We should be able to distinguish between constructive criticism and admonishment. Negative criticism greatly alters power relations. There are different types of negative criticism. We will list them from the least to the most serious ones. Non-verbal warnings, which is verbal warnings, bidirectional negative criticism, one-way negative criticism, admonition, disciplinary sanctions. Criticisms and sanctions. Receiving. There are various ways to receive praise. We should not allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by shame or modesty. If they praise us, it is because we deserve it, and we should not feel embarrassed because we have a right to receive the praise with peace of heart. The best way is to react with humor. On the other hand, negative criticism evokes strong emotions and is only natural because someone likes to hear their work has not been done correctly. Nobody likes to hear that the work's been done incorrectly. Even if the criticism is given in a polite and clear manner, we should not feel bad, but instead use it as a possibility to improve and in part feel thankful that they have been sincere with us. There are people who do not give negative criticisms as they should, especially people who are arrogant, transparent, or indifferent to the emotions and feelings of others. When faced with these people, you should never let them humiliate you. You should demonstrate that even if you have not done your job very well, it could be improved. Now we come to quality relationships. It is not always possible to maintain a good relationship with everyone. We might have, for example, a workmate with whom we really do not get along, or a colleague with whom we have a tense relationship. These are not quality relationships, but rather quite unhealthy ones. People tend to believe that they have reasons to be on bad terms with someone, but what they do not realize is that this can affect the team in general. We should avoid, solve, or ignore these relations. Trying to have positive relationships. In order to maintain friendly relationships in the work environment, there's a series of rules designed by Roethlisberger. We should not work excessively. Who does so is a troublemaker. We should not work too little. Whoever does is a scavenger. We should not tell the boss anything against coworker. Who does so is a snitch. We should not force anyone to comply with an order. Who does so is a dictator. If we stick to these rules, we will ensure a minimum of well-being among the team members. Okay, I think the opposite. Never mind. Here now are the sources of enmity. Competitiveness, communication and misunderstanding, resentment, self-love, suspicion, lack of manners, stereotypes, and conflicts. Wow. Here's a source of enmity. Well, inappropriate comments made by third parties, offending, undermining, publicly, and behaving like a bully. Whoa.